Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the holotables, to another Galaxy of Heroes video with me, your bold boy Scribe. Now, I have recorded this video about 3 or 4 times. No joke, no joke. And every time I went through and recorded it, I just felt it was garbage. You know what's not garbage, though? The Stranger. That's right, our latest Conquest unit is in the game. We've had some time now to playtest him, although without his unique lifter in Spider Legs Mall. We should be getting him next week at 5-star maximum. And I wanted to give you my thoughts on priority lists for Zetas and Omicrons, how you should mod him, and some of the teams that you can use with him. Let's break this down. The Stranger then, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely fantastic Conquest unit. One of the best Conquest units we've had in a while, and that's saying something, because to be honest, we've had quite a lot of really good Conquest units. Mars is actually really good. Obviously, Bane is phenomenal. Queen Amidala, there's loads of really good ones, but he is definitely up there, top 3 sort of performance from what I'm seeing so far. You know, maybe not quite as universally useful as someone like Bane, who can just go in as a short man, but still definitely all the way up there in the top 3 of our Conquest units ever. He's got triple Zeta, triple Omicron. Highly recommend you take him to as high of a relic level as you possibly can. Maybe hold off on the R10s. You can do it if you like, obviously, but I don't think he necessarily needs it. With that in mind, let's talk about then modding Zeta priorities, Omicron priorities. I'm going to start off with modding, and when we look at mods, we want to take into account a couple of things, right? We want to look at the character's stats and kit and basically decide what are the important stats to this character and how can we best use our mods to accentuate and amplify the benefits of his kit. So, Stranger, he has got 3 instant kills on each of his special abilities, well, even his basic. Each of them have got a different requirement for that instant kill. For example, Pieces of Lie, his basic, if he uses this basic against a target that he has got 250 or more speed than, he will insta-kill them, but only the first time that he does that. Certain characters, like Queen Amidala's decoy, will spawn with 0 speed, so he will literally insta-kill the decoy, which is really great, gives you a great benefit at the start of battle. The second one, his first special over here, an Acolyte kills the Dream. This thing will instant kill when he uses it against the last enemy, and the Dark Side Unaligned Force user Acolytes assist, okay? So if he uses that, Dark Side Unaligned Force user Acolytes will instantly defeat the target enemy when they assist. Really useful, but kind of only happens towards the end of the battle. Finally, was that its name? If you use this ability 3 times on the same target, then it will instant kill, alright? And the good thing about this is none of these require Omicrons in order to activate. With that in mind, we know then that we will want at least a decent amount of speed, not necessarily because Pieces of Lie, because I think in my personal brain that having him be like 360 speed it's a little bit of a waste, truth be told. Like, he's going to be gaining 70 speed from Starkiller's unique within GAC when you use the There Is Much Conflict in You Omicron. That's going to give him 70 speed. And more importantly, when you have a unit like Spider Legs Mall, which is supposedly going to have a fracture ability on it. We should find that out real soon. If we check out over here, his leadership Omicron, whenever an enemy is fractured, all enemies lose 100% turn meter. That actually sets speed to 0, and we can check that by going into Thrawn's kit. I really wish CG would have a glossary of abilities. But on Thrawn's kit, if you check out Fracture on characters, speed is set to 0. So as soon as you fracture someone, Stranger will be able to basic them and insta-kill them. The only unit from from Stranger's team that could possibly have Fracture is going to be the new Spider Legs Mall, which is going to be dropping at the end of this era. Well, actually, it's going to be dropping in 1 week's time. We'll get the 5-star unlock. Guaranteed it's going to have Fracture in there somewhere, which means you don't need boatloads of speed just for Pieces of Lie for the insta-kill. You don't need that necessarily. You still want some good speed, but it doesn't have to be boatloads. Now, the other side of things that is very important for him is max health. And the reason max health is important is kind of twofold. First of all, gives him a bit of survivability, lets him stay in the battle a bit longer, which is very important. Second of all, whenever the Stranger uses an ability, he deals bonus true damage to the target enemy equal to 10% of his max health if he has taken a turn before his enemies, which can't be evaded. Okay, this gets amplified again with his Grand Arena Omicron on this unique. Basically, it says, the first time the stranger is reduced... Oh, no, sorry, not that part. It says, when the stranger uses an ability, he deals bonus true damage to the target enemy equal to 10% of his max health for each turn he has taken before his enemy stacking, which can't be evaded. This bonus damage value is reset whenever they take a turn. So basically, he ramps up damage whenever he is taking more turns than the enemy. An additional 10% per turn he's taken before them, which happens quite easily because ramping speed, lots of bonus turns on his kit, means more max health, means more true damage, which is free damage, you know? So get this thing as high as possible. So far we've established we want some decent speed, 330 to 350, something like that, I would say. We want decent health, because health is going to translate into true damage. The other reason that health is important is let's not forget about Starkiller. Starkiller, on his There Is Much Conflict in You, is passing 100% crit damage, max health, max protection, until the first time he is defeated, and then it's going to get that 70 speed as well. So that 100% max health is going to compound if you put a lot of max health on the stranger. So lots of max health, get it essentially doubled thanks to Starkiller, and then you're doing even more damage with that true damage. So that's two elements of modding that we want when we come to the stranger, is we want speed and we want max health. The last thing that I recommend on him is actually offense. He doesn't have boatloads of base offense, however he will be assisting a lot thanks to the fact that he does get alert on his basic, which means he's going to assist on specials, and he takes a lot of bonus turns, so he is going to be getting ramping damage. Lots and lots of hits means lots and lots of offense is a good thing. He also does give himself an additional 35% offense through his unique, so the higher your base offense, the more you can get from that, right? As a final aside, if you are ramping offense and you are typically a character that is a physical attacker, usually means that you are going to be getting a good crit chance, especially if you've got higher relic levels, right? So having a crit damage triangle means you're going to amplify that damage that you get. All right, so all these things are good. Speed, health, offense, crit damage on the triangle. That's what we're looking for. I'm not going to say use these sets, use these primaries, okay? Because realistically, depending on your mod depth, depending on the relic level of investment that you've got on the stranger, you can cut a cake in many different ways. So you can see I'm using a health set and an offense set, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to. You could probably get similar stats by using a speed set and a health set, or maybe you want to use something else like full health sets to get more health. My general threshold requirements are, if you are looking for health, go about 100k plus. If you are looking for offense, you want to have maybe 9k plus, and if you're looking for speed, anything over 330 is ideal. Throw in a crit damage triangle and you're good to go. So my stats over here, I've got 100k health, 331 speed, crit damage on the triangle, and 10.4k offense. Now I could definitely get more speed if I were to sacrifice some damage, or I could get more health if I was to sacrifice some damage. I don't know the ideal comp right now, this is just what I'm testing with at the moment, and it seems to be working pretty well. Obviously, maybe some people will not have offense sets which have got this many sort of 25 plus speed secondaries. It can be quite tricky. This is for people that have got quite a good depth of offense mods essentially. But don't get me wrong, you could go in with a speed set, with a health set, and you'd be able to get 90% of this benefit. Maybe you'll be about 8k offense or 8.5k offense, something like that, depending on your relic level. And that's going to be absolutely fine. So to reiterate, when it comes to modding, I generally speak for somebody that's at Relic 9, you want to try and have about 100k health, over 330 speed, over 9k offense, and a crit damage triangle. Obviously, this is going to be entirely dependent on your mod setup, how much mods you've got, and what relic level your stranger actually is. This is sort of high-end goals in my opinion, and that's just based on initial testing. I've obviously gone a little bit higher on that damage. I don't know if it's going to be worth it. I'm just kind of testing to see the waters. Next up, let's talk about Zetas and Omicrons. He has got 3 Zetas and 3 Omicrons, and all of them are worthwhile getting. Okay, so his leadership has got a Zeta and an Omicron. An Acolyte Kills the Dream has only got an Omicron. His what was that is its name. This has got an Omicron and a Zeta, and then you've got an Omicron and a Zeta as well on You Might Call Me Sith. Personally, when I look at his Zetas and Omicrons, I think there's a little bit of nuance that you should apply to this basically. It depends on if you have an Omicron or not. If you've got an Omicron available, I recommend go ahead, throw the Zeta on his leadership, and then his Omicron on his leadership, because that's where a bulk of his power remains, all right? All of these are worthwhile, but I feel like getting that leadership Omicron first and foremost is the most important thing. I do believe that the second special Zeta is very, very important. It allows you to put a stun on the target enemy, which is really, really good, but I don't think it is as important as getting that leadership Omicron. So if all you've got is one Zeta, go for that second special, this one over here, and that will give you good value for your Zeta. If you've got an Omicron as well, go for the leadership, then go ahead and throw the Omicron on the leadership, right? So after that, we will say that the last important Zeta is going to be on his unique. There are some will call me Sith, and also the Omicron on that is also more valuable than the Omicron on his first special, okay? And I'll give you some reasons for why I believe this is the most ideal way to go. So this second special over here, was that its name? The Zeta on this is really, really good. Obviously, the level 7 gives you the stun, but the Zeta gives you an additional stun on the weakest enemy, which can't actually be evaded or resisted. That's really, really useful, and it also applies the third time you use it, you will get yourself an insta-kill. For one Zeta, this is super valuable. You've also got additional stuff here. So if you instant defeat an enemy with this ability, all enemies are going to be demoralized for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, evaded, or resisted. Demoralized stops turn meter gain, stops buffs, that sort of thing. Really, really good debuff, right? No, I'm thinking of doubt. Sorry, that's not what it is. Demoralized reduces their incoming damage, outgoing damage by 50%. It's the same as Moff Gideon's ability, right? So this is a really, really powerful Zeta. There's no denying it. However, if using that Zeta prevents you from getting the Omicron on the leadership, I don't think it's the most sensible thing to do. Okay, so the Zeta over here on the leadership applies whenever an acolyte ally attacks out of turn, reduce the cooldowns of an acolyte kills the dream by 1. Whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, reduce the cooldown of was that its name by 1. 2 if they were Jedi. Whenever an acolyte ally has a buff dispelled, the enemy that dispelled it can't recover health or protection for 1 turn. All of these things are really, really valuable. Stopping health and protection recovery is great. Reducing your cooldowns on your specials is really great, especially for was that its name, because that does have that insta-kill if you have the Zeta on it. So this is still a very good Zeta, but more importantly, the Omicron ability is very, very good. Whenever an acolyte ally counterattacks, inflict the target enemy with armor shred for the rest of the encounter instead. Very useful. Whenever the enemy is fractured, all enemies lose 100% turn meter. This is great. We don't know if the fracture from Spiderleg's Maul is going to be an AoE fracture or a single target fracture, but the 100% turn meter reduction is on the entire enemy team, which is super, super cool, and it can't be resisted. Whenever an acolyte ally takes damage from an enemy on consecutive turns, they gain bonus turns. Whenever this bonus turn occurs, that ally can't gain another bonus turn this way until taking damage from an enemy on consecutive turns again. So lots of bonus turns, 100% removal of turn meter on Fracture, which isn't useful yet, but when we get Spiderleg's Maul, I believe it will be, as well as armor shreds on counterattacks. All of that is very, very good, and we're only halfway through the Omicron so far, okay? Enemies also will deal 35% less damage when attacking an acolyte. So survivability, cooldown reductions is on the Zeta, but you know, survivability, armor shreds, turn meter removal, bonus turns, all on this one Omicron. It's very, very valuable. Next up, we've got You Might Call Me Sith. Now, this one over here is very, very valuable. Once again, Zeta and Omicron, the least valuable Zeta, but still absolutely pivotal for the Stranger. Whenever the Stranger uses a special ability, he calls himself to assist and gains Cortosis Armor. What does Cortosis Armor do? If this character is damaged by an enemy ability while they have this effect, the enemy who damaged them loses all of their protection and 25% speed for 1 turn. Now that 25% speed reduction is going to help with Pieces of Lie, because it means that they've got less speed. If an enemy has got 350 speed, they lose 25% of it. They're losing 70 speed. So 350 becomes 275. I hope that math was correct. Which means it's easier for him to get Pieces of Lie. That's a minor benefit, but still some sort of benefit, right? That's not the end of his Zeta ability, though. So let's keep on going. He is also immune to turn meter reduction whilst he has Cortosis Armor, which is really, really cool. Okay, so the Omicron then, this is a really good Omicron as well. Whenever an enemy attacks the Stranger from an assist, the Stranger gains a bonus turn. This is so useful against a number of teams. They attack him out of turn, he's just like, I'll take a bonus a turn, which is obviously going to help with cycling through cooldowns, dealing extra damage, gaining more things like alert, hitting that triple attack on, was that its name, so you get the insta-kill. All super, super valuable. The Stranger also can't have his speed reduced below his base speed for the rest of battle. There are some abilities that will reduce base speed, but most importantly, I think this kind of locks out teams like Jedi Knight Luke leadership, which will set his speed to Luke's base speed, which means he wouldn't be able to gain bonus speeds from pieces of lie, which is very, very useful. Having that immunity just gives him a little bit more viability offensively and defensively speaking. Not that people really use Jedi Knight Luke leadership on defense. Also, the first time the Stranger is reduced to 25% health, he's going to equalize his health and protection with the strongest enemy, which can be quite useful. If they've got a GL, equalizing health and protection with someone like JML or Lord Vader, it's going to be a lot of health recovery and inadvertently does damage to the enemy GL, which is really, really cool. And this is also where he gains that additional bonus damage from his max health. 10% extra max health damage to the 10% extra true damage based on his max health for every turn he's taken beyond the targeted opponent. So this is when you throw in the bonus turns, you know, say he kills an assist, he gets bonus turns after bonus turns and he's targeting a character that hasn't hit yet. This is going to be ramping his damage based on his max health enormously, which is really, really cool. And finally, that damage can't be evaded. This bonus damage value is reset on each enemy whenever they start their turn. So it's going to ramp all the time. It's active throughout the entire battle. It's just boatloads of damage, a little bit of survivability, and bonus turns. Really, really good. Now the final one, the final the final Omicron, not Zeta, that we need to look at is in An Acolyte Kills the Dream. This one is still very, very good, but I feel like it is a little bit more situational and doesn't help you get your foot out the door, doesn't help you instantly. It helps you later on in the battle. If all enemies have fallen below 100% health at least once this encounter, the Stranger gains massively overpowered for one turn. That is basically a one-turn buff where the next ability will deal massive damage. Okay, it's useful. 99,000 or reduced damage against certain units, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. If this ability defeats an enemy, revive all Acolyte allies, and then the Acolyte allies recover full health and protection. On paper, it's still very, very strong. It is very, very strong, and it's very, very useful having that additional revive in there. The only reason I place this one last in terms of importance is because it is situational, all right? You might not get the kill with that ability, for one, right? So you wouldn't get the revive. It requires having dropped the enemies below 100% health at least once, which is entirely possible, but it's not giving you an instant boost. Still very, very valuable, but probably the lowest in priority. I still recommend every Zeta and every Omicron on the Stranger. When it comes to Stranger's team comps, I mean, realistically speaking, you're never really going to get rid of Starkiller and Maul. Okay, Maul will be replaced with Spiderlegs Maul when you guys get him eventually, but for now, Starkiller is going to be, particularly in GAC, the go-to. Like his Omicrons in particular, there is much conflict in you, not hate. This just gives way too much benefit to the team that you could ever possibly think about taking him out. Lots of damage, survivability, control, all that good business. Maul with his stacks of Seething Rage paired with Stranger when Stranger has got alert means every time we use Seething Rage with Maul, we're going to assist with Stranger, which is phenomenal. Now, for a kind of a default, I was thinking Visas, Ma, and Kenobi. Visas gives us a bit of healing. She also gives us some additional counterattack damage and critically a revive. You can also use this with a Healacron if you want to gain some additional benefits. And I'm using General Kenobi because a Jedi tank under Starkiller will get pre-taunts, will get damage immunity and all that sort of good business. All of these things, highly, highly valuable. You don't need to use these two necessarily. You can throw in someone huge in terms of Jedi like Ezra Bridger Exile. That will bring a lot more survivability, a lot of tech to the team, but he is a very expensive unit and I don't necessarily recommend using him. And then you'd still want some sort of unaligned force user. You can use some others. You can use people like Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, who I do think belongs with Seer right now. You can use JTR, you can even use CLS, but I think Visas right now is probably one of the betters. In TW, I do think Juhani with her Omicron is going to be the most valuable unit to throw in here. And then Cal Kestis, Obviously, you want to have some sort of healing and survivability. Now, if you've got Fulcrum's Omi as well as Cal Kestis' Omi, you're obviously not going to use him in this TW team. You're going to have to swap it out. Some other good options might still be to use Visas Mar, all the same. It might be to use somebody else, maybe some additional damage dealers, maybe someone like JTR. JTR is a really, really useful unit here. Now, I've seen some people throwing around units such as, instead of having Starkiller out in Territory War, maybe having someone like Bane to get some additional tanking in there. But honestly, I think you just end up destroying another really high meta team, and I don't think it adds commensurate value. Now, doesn't have to be GK in terms of tanks. You can use Old Ben, you can use Mace. I just kind of like GK in general. The fact that he can pass out additional foresight and crit hit immunity and all that sort of good business just adds an additional level of survivability to this team that I think it desperately needs, because Stranger is a little bit squishy, truth be told. When it comes to Datacrons, you can use a number of things. You can use Healercrons or you can use Attackacrons, I think are probably the best ones. Go for the wordy one on both of them. And honestly, I go for a split of either armor penetration and health or crit damage and health. On my Datacron that I'm running right now, I don't actually think I've got the team in at the moment. I don't, but should we see about doing a battle against something? That might be useful. I tend to run crit damage and health. We've actually got a Stranger over here. I find Starkiller right now is a little bit dodgy, but against someone like JMK, it's not too bad. Let's see who we got. Okay, let's just go ahead and test it over here. Now, you can also use Commander Ahsoka Tano, but that does really hamper teams like JMK. She's a great unaligned force user, but honestly, you're probably sacrificing too much. So particularly against JMK, you are actually probably better off using Ezra Bridger Exile. And the reason I say that is that Ezra Bridger Exile will start off... sorry, I'm looking at the wrong units here. Ezra Bridger Exile will start with a pre-taunt, and he cannot be instantly defeated, and he cannot be assisted against. So in particular, if you're facing off against something like this, Ezra Bridger is a great one. You can still go in with some other sort of Jedi pre-taunt, but if Snips happens to remove the taunt from him, then it is going to be a situation where Cat will go ahead and yeet out that tank, and that's not ideal. So we'll go back to an unaligned force user over here. Perhaps we'll throw in Visas. Yeah, I guess so. We could throw in Visas, or we could... That's not Visas. We could throw in Visas. You can throw in Cal. Quite a number of units, but I'm going to go with an Attackacron over here. We'll find something applicable, and my personal feeling is something crit damage and health, something like this. Basics giving speed up. Attackacron should be able to do the job. Let's see how we get on versus JMK in particular. So he resets the cooldowns. We've got the taunt over here on our boy Ezra Bridger Exile. I think I can only pass over to Visas right now. Alright, okay, we'll just do a basic over here. We eat the yeet, as it were. Eat the yeet. And then I'll just go ahead and use that first special. Gained ourselves a rather wonderful alert over here, so we are actually going to assist. I'm going to increase the cooldowns on Cat right now, and then we're just going to plow all into JMK, see if we can get some good damage going. 36,000 true damage over there on the call to assist coming out of my boy Stranger. Not bad at all. Nearly taking out Kenobi, and yeah, let's actually just throw the canister in. Wonderful, we hit the Savior mechanic there. Savior mechanic officially triggered. Alright, and of course we cannot be assisted against on Ezra Bridger Exile, which is super, super useful. Go ahead and get that heal immunity out. If we can take out Kenobi pretty quick, that would be great. Yeah, let's get rid of some of these buffs. Wonderful. There he goes. Okay, cool. I think we should be able to get rid. Looks like he's using a Luminaracron with revives. Alright. Maybe focus on Snips next. Not going to bother using the first special. You kind of want to save that first special on Visas Mar for when you need a revive. Alright. Okay, should get some shock out. Oh, perhaps not. Let's just basic here. Wonderful. Throw the stick, Zeta. Wonderful. So, I mean, this is handling this Kenobi team pretty handedly, I would say. It's not even close right now. Can I actually just use it on Stranger? That's probably better. Alright, we managed to get her exiled as well, which is pretty neat. Looks like we're going to lose Visas. I find Visas has got a very high target priority. Let's get the stun. Wonderful. Just a basic. We're even... We even managed to pull it out of the sky right now. This team is just so strong. There's no Omicrons active right now, which is the crazy thing. That's the absolutely crazy thing. All right. I don't even know what his text protection, disruption, yada, yada, yada. Oh, that's fine. We could probably just get rid of Bloomy. Probably just get rid of Bloomy. She gets a revive once, and then she's gone. 180k coming out of our boy Stranger. Not bad at all. It's just really good damage. At this point, we could probably just hit that full auto button and just call it quits, right? We just...
Get your hands off the wheel, boy. We're going...
So yeah, it's a pretty decent team. It's a pretty decent team all in all. Now, I do think you could probably use old Ben in that setup if you could get the taunt up in time on old Ben. So you can, you know, not have to waste your Star Killer per se. And obviously in GAC, you might have enough speed on your Maul to outpace their cat and increase her cooldowns turn 1, so she wouldn't be able to do that. That's another thing to consider. But all in all, Starkiller is a phenomenal character, and I can't wait to use him in GAC later on today. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please give this video a little bit of a like, perhaps subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.